God, we come to you as humble as we know how right now. Father God, asking for forgiveness for all of our sins. Father God, may we ask that you would bless the city of Shreveport. Father God, we ask that you would bless this meeting, bless the business that goes forth out of the city of Shreveport. Father God, I ask that you would watch over all of us, make sure that there's no hurt, harm, or danger that comes to us. Father God, work on our hearts and our minds as we make decisions that affect everyone in the city of Shreveport, visitors and citizens alike. Father God, we thank you for all that you have done. We give you all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on into it. I'm going to try to keep this going kind of smooth. We have a lot to cover. So do we have any public comments today?
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 217, Shreveport, South Carolina, 18. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year too, Ms. Glover.
Notice on the agenda that you all will be addressing minutes from the August 8, 2023 meeting. Learn that those minutes are not commonly available to the public. With that being said, I would suggest or ask that those minutes are available to the public, because oftentimes we may not be able to attend your committee meetings. But since you had it on this agenda, then I felt compelled to say, well, then make that available whereby I can actually see what you all are discussing. Outside of that, because we really don't know exactly to the extreme or extent what you all are gonna be discussing, other than what we've been told just now via this agenda, then it's kind of hard to have a comment to any of those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glover. Madam Clerk, if you and RJ could make sure we post those somewhere, or also anytime if we do have a meeting, send them an email, they'll send it to you. Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, moving on, do I have a motion to accept the August 8th, 2023? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. First item on the agenda is crime in the city of Shreveport. Chief, I think the best way maybe to start this is just to kind of get your synopsis of what happened last year, where you think you are, where you think we're going. Just kind of give us a brief synopsis of it, and then we'll chime in and ask questions.
Okay. Last year was a really interesting year. As you can tell, as you heard, one of our most violent crimes, which was homicides, was up. We ended the year with around 77 or 78 homicides as compared to 48 for the previous year. Now keep in mind, a couple of the homicides that I'm reporting on were actually occurred in prior years, but this was the year that they succumbed to their injuries, so you have to count it on that current year's statistics. Forcible rapes were down. Robberies, moving into that category, total robberies were down for the year. Aggravated assaults, they were down for the year. The robberies, getting to the burglaries, and keep in mind at the year ends figures, and December is not complete. I'm using the figures that are accurate from January to the end of November. Burglaries were a real problem for us this year, and that number of burglaries was on an increase. Residential burglaries was on an increase. Business burglaries were on an increase. So at the very end of the year, when I give total crimes, it's going to show an increase for 2023. That increase is going to be due to the rise in burglaries and thefts, not other related crimes. Purse snatching were down. Shoplifting was up just a little bit. Thefts from businesses were down. Thefts from residents were down. Auto accessory thefts were down from the prior year. Thefts from autos, and I'm quite sure that throughout the year, you heard so much about vehicles getting burglarized. People go to sleep, wake up the next morning, go out in the yard and see their vehicle has been broken into. So auto accessory thefts were down, but thefts from autos themselves were up tremendously. So looking at the grand total, it would show that our crimes were up just a little bit, but it's all because of the vehicle burglaries is what the driving factor was. But so far as violent crimes, our violent crime index were down from the prior year. Property crime index, that's the one that was up some, 1,900 or so calls, and that drives our other crime statistics up. Anyone have any question?
Chief, just to start with, on the vehicle burglaries and the burglaries from homes, how many guns have been stolen from those vehicles and from those homes? Do you have a number of that?
I don't know exactly, but I know that the weapons that we've recovered for this year is tremendous, and they are, I don't know the exact figures, but they should be pretty close. Last year, SPD officers and others, we recovered 1,200 and I think 3 or 4 weapons. And this year, it's gonna be pretty close to the same. I haven't gotten, December's year-end figure yet, but it's pretty close to the same. And many of those weapons were recovered that came from people's residence and from their automobiles. And believe it or not, from storage facilities. I never knew that people stored or kept weapons in storage buildings, but some of them do.
Do you still have some special task force that just deal basically with gun violence?
Yes, sir, I do. They did a tremendous job last year targeting gun-related offenses, and I see emails from them almost on a daily basis where they are making arrests and seizing weapons.
I guess, and I'm trying to kind of configure this in my mind, how we can get, how we can double almost in murders or homicides. And I just have a lot of trouble figuring that out. What do we do? Because I'll be honest with you, if you you said purse snatching, if you want to snatch somebody's purse, we'll give it to you, go ahead. But, that's losing your life or having somebody come into your home and break into your home while you're there. Those are just two different things to me. God forbid I want any family member or anybody I know to be assaulted or to have something taken from them. But the ultimate is the murders, and that's the number I think that we're focusing on, and I think that's the number that a lot of our constituents focus on because they just don't really feel safe. And that's across the board. I get that comment a lot. We have visitors that won't even, and I've said this for 2 years now, that people that live in the outskirts areas that say they're not coming to Shreveport, they're gonna do their business in Bossier City. You have people actually in North Shreveport that go to Bossier City to do business because they don't want to go to South Shreveport. And this is what we're hearing from our constituents.
Sure.
And it's not just in District A or B or C or D, it's all of us that are hearing the same thing. And I think the number one question I get asked when people see me, what are we gonna do about this crime? And, I get emails and texts, and I finally told the guy, I said, look, you just got to call the police chief. I don't know what to call the mayor. I don't know what else to tell you. We've funded, we've given the funding. I just don't know what else to say. And I know, it's not that I don't think you're doing your job or working hard, because I do. I think that y'all are, and all the police officers are. I just think, like we said in the last public safety, or in the last council meeting before the final one of the year, we're just looking for some, I don't know, we're just looking for something outside the box.
Sure. I clearly understand. And and I feel like I'm somewhat of the expert in this field. This is what I do, and this is what I've done
You are.
for
Yes, sir.
44 plus years. Throughout the year, SPD is a part of every task force. And task force, let me help you to understand what a task force means. That is a cooperation, an endeavor where multiple agencies come together, put their resources together to target specific crimes. We are part of every task force in North Louisiana. That is for targeting violent offenders, sex offenders, drug offenses, and the list just goes on and on and on. One of the things that is probably hard to rationalize in this environment, that the police cannot, nor will they ever be, on every street corner, in everybody's car, in everybody's house, where everybody is around the clock. We'll never be there. Out of the 77, 78 homicides that have happened so far in Shreveport, the overwhelming majority of them, probably 95 or so % of them, it has not been the innocent person that has been harmed. Realistically, it hasn't. It's been an intended target where the person doing the shooting knew that person, planned this event, and went out with the specific intent to harm that person. Many of these offenders are repeat offenders, I would say that. We seldom run across someone that commits a violent crime that this is their first encounter with the justice system. All right? And for those, without giving away any strategic strategies, and keep in mind, I have to temper what I say because our strategies are our first line of defense, and if I say much, it's giving away what little advantage that we have. We have specific groups, not only locally, but federally and statewide, that are working with us to try to prevent those that are most likely the person that's going to commit crimes from committing crimes. We're constantly searching for ways and ideas to make our city safe. And I am open for any ideas, any suggestion that anyone may have. Just recently, Chief White went to the IACP, the Internal Association of Chiefs of Police convention, and came back a couple of weeks ago with some awesome ideas. And in those conventions, we learned that every police department around the country is having the same difficulties and challenges that we're having, from crime to filling their vacancies. He came back with some awesome ideas he had learned from some other chiefs that we're going to implement here in Shreveport, and I feel confident that it's going to make an immediate difference. And some other things that we have in the works that I believe is going to make a difference.
I'm going to ask one thing and then I'm done.
Yes.
I'm going to let the other council
Yes.
members say something, but this is a politically incorrect thing to say in some people's eyes, but you alluded to the repeat offenders. Where does this fall on the judicial system? Where does this fall on the DA? Where does this fall on the judges? Where does this fall? Because if you research, which I do, and I'm sure some other council members do, you can research the history of these individuals. It's pretty easy to do. And you see that, like, I think there was an officer involved shooting, I'm not gonna name which one, but the guy had just been let out of jail for attempted murder. I mean, is there anything that we can do to work? Is it because we're not getting good packages to the DA's office? Is it because we're not? Why are they letting these people out of jail? And what can we do as a council and citizens to put pressure on the judicial system to stop letting them out of jail? Stop plea bargaining with them. Stop. Because that's the frustration I'm hearing. The first thing is the crime, the second thing is, hey, you knew that guy was arrested a year ago for attempted murder, but he's back out. Why? I don't have a clue. And I'm not trying to step on I don't walk in the, if you talk to the DA, he's going to say that it's because we're not putting the package together well enough. But I'm tired of getting asked that question as well. So I would like, sometimes when you release who these offenders are, I'd like for y'all to put in your press release what their criminal history was when they were arrested the last time. If it's something that's really, really bad, like a murder, because that's the only way we're going to be able to, I think, put pressure on the DA and the judicial system to keep these people where they need to be.
Sure.
That's all I'm going to say. I know that that's a lot, and a lot of people don't like, I don't necessarily like doing this, but it is a question that I'm asked, so I'm asking you.
Well, I can tell you that I think the entire system needs improving. The entire system seems to have some broken parts that are not working right. SPD channels the majority of the people that are housed in CCC. We put them there. That 1,400 people, whatever they are, when they're overcrowded, I guarantee you 1,100 or 1,200 of them came from SPD. I've never prosecuted a case in my life, so I don't know what it takes to feel confident to completely prosecute one, and I've certainly never been a judge. But as a police officer, we're going to do the best that we can based on what the law says we have to do, find probable cause to make that arrest and make the arrest and put the people in the system. It appears that once a person goes into the system and makes that circle, they are not, the case is not being adjudicated as fast as we're putting them in on the other end. So is it going to back up? I would say so. If more coming in that's going out the other way. Now, what reason, what rationale along the way that the DA used, that the judges use to clear their dockets, only they can answer for themselves. But I know we're going to, as SPD, in the protection of this city and what we're sworn to do, we're going to keep on working hard and putting people in there. The repeat offenders, it begins to be apparent after a while that whatever rehabilitative process and theories there are within that system doesn't seem to be having a lasting effect, because many of them continues to commit crimes. So I thought incarceration should have some kind of rehabilitative component, whether implied or otherwise, but it just does not seem to be having the greatest effect.
You think it's because they're not going to prison, they're going to jail, and we're not rehabilitating them in jail as opposed to them going to Angola or someplace like that? Because they're sitting there so long. And then my last question, I promise this time. The YMCA shooting happened in Bossier Parish, correct?
That's correct.
I want to know, and it can be confidentially to this committee, I want to know how it's been working with the Bossier DA on that as opposed to working with the Caddo DA on that. I'm going to be watching that case really, really close. I know we've had them in the past at like the Pier Landing and things like that. They're actually in Bossier Parish. But I want to, this one's the first one I can remember as we've been elected that's happened in Bossier Parish. And I want to see how that process works, how quickly they're go to trial, how quickly we get all this stuff together.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
I'd like, kind of do me a comparison on that if you don't mind, or somebody. And it of course, is confidential amongst this committee. But I kind of want to see how that plays out in Bossier Parish.
We have great communication between ourselves and Bossier Parish, Bossier Police. We all communicate, and we come to the table with the facts that are available and decide which direction to go. But we're working together.
Any other committee member or council member?
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Chair. First of all, when are we going to get the end of the year stats? It would have been kind of nice to have them prior to our meeting today, but I understand that you know, things need to be compiled and, you know, year end needs to be wrapped up, but,
Yeah,
when can we
usually
expect that?
mid to latter part of January. See,
Okay.
these statistics are pulled from RMS, from the CAD computer system. Some of that data that goes in there is manually done by hand from officers' handwritten reports. So, you know, it can be days, weeks later before this makes it to a clerk's desk to input the data. And we like to have the most accurate data that we can. That's why I'm just speaking today of November's data.
Mhm. I understand that. I just wanted our audience to understand it as well.
Oh, thank
So
you,
thank you.
thank you.
Are we classifying crimes the same way as have done in the past? Has the FBI, or have we reclassified crimes that we didn't classify the same way otherwise, going into 2023 or 2022?
We're
Things pretty much stay
classifying
the
them
same.
the same way the FBI has dictated that we do. We are behind in our technical upgrades, but that's supposed to begin that transition sometime around March when we go into a new computer system, and the FBI is going to look at this data a little bit differently, but it hadn't been reclassified yet.
So regarding the homicides, Chief, would you say that we have a gang issue or do we have a clique issue regarding a majority of the relational homicides, shootings that we have seen?
Both of what you said is correct, and just about anything imaginable that you can come up with, conflict has caused these homicides. But much of what you said is correct.
And when we interview suspects regarding the clique homicides, do we ask them what's behind, what their motive is? And if we do, what would you say is the majority of the reason that they commit these homicides in these cliques?
The majority of the final conclusions that we get come from good investigative work and not necessarily from the suspected person themselves, because quite more often than not, the person who's arrested pleads the fifth. But through our investigative means, and they are various, 99.9% of the time, we will find out what initiated the conflict that gets us to this point.
So it's your professional opinion that a majority of these shootings or retaliatory shootings are, in these cliques, are more related to social status, specifically on social networking, rather than, obviously, the gangs were more about moving material, turf, free enterprise, if you will, rather than, like I say, the cliques are more of a social status and typically begin through some kind of relation bashing.
It's relationships between the suspect and the victim, and the relationships are very, very broad, to be frankly honest. Much of it happens some of it happens through communication, through social media and otherwise. So everything that you just said is basically correct.
So in essence, from a law enforcement perspective, I know you get hammered a lot about what are you going to do as a law enforcement chief, and what are our officers going to do, and what are we going to do? But when we really get down to it, it's not a funding issue. It's not a manpower issue. It's not something that we can actually put something tangible in place to immediately curtail or abruptly halt this social clique mentality. I know that it seems to be unfair sometimes that we're asking you to fix something that really, if you can't legislate the evil in a man's heart, it's difficult to do anything else.
I appreciate this council, this administration so much for the time that I've been here, because nobody can ever say that this council, this administration has not bent over backwards, gone beyond what was needed to provide me with everything that I need to make this city safe. And I thank y'all so very much for that. From equipment, from people, none of you have wavered whatsoever. And you know, I often tell the story when I meet up with my peers, other police chiefs, that I have a council administration that all of them ask me periodically, Chief, what do you need? And you know, I'm amazed at how many of them saying, I wish I had a council like that that supported us that way. Thank you so much, Councilman Talaferro, for that. And you're exactly right. We can't be in a person's heart. If either one of you wanted to leave here today and cause harm to someone, there's nothing I can do about it until it had happened. And I'm going to come after the fact. We're going to investigate it. And if you violated the law, I'm going to put either of you in jail. That's what I'm going to
And
do.
then from that point forward, it's the judge and the
Right.
DA.
That's exactly right. I'm going to put you in jail without a doubt, and ain't going to waver about it. Going to put you in jail.
And
We
just-
have a societal problem where the values of another person's life and safety does not mean as much as it should. We have a society that has a problem with the values. It's younger people, the majority of the time. I mean, you know, we can have conversation from now to next week and still not come up with all the reasons why people do what they do. But so far, the Shreveport Police Department, we're going to continue to work as aggressively as we can, but we have to always consider the constitutional rights of every free American not to be harassed, not to, your rights to be intruded or violated by SPD. As long as you don't do nothing, I ain't got a right to mess with you. But when you do something, have
Mess
you done
with me.
something?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. But, you know, when you do something, when you draw some reasonable suspicion to our mind, then I got the right to bother you. I cannot just stop everybody that comes up and down the road, because I ain't got no reason to. But here's the irony about it. You know the difference between someone who wants to violate the law and someone who doesn't? Nothing. Everybody looks the same, enjoys your freedom.
And I just want to make it clear that while these events that we've witnessed, specific homicides are tragic,
Yes.
I'm not here to say that we do nothing. I'm not here to say that we just throw our hands up and going, oh, well, look at everybody else. They have the same issues. And I think your research probably shows what mine does, is that there's no police department, a law enforcement agency that has the, quote, magic bullet that's going to actually take care of this social issue that we have with, you know, our clique situation and the mindset of the generation that is actually perpetuating this crime. I say that to say that we will continue to support you. We will continue to support all of our law enforcement officers, you know, in any endeavor that they have to actually go out there and protect the safety, to ensure that we have a quality of freedom to move about and not violate anyone else's rights. And we will continue looking for that quote-unquote magic bullet, if there is such a thing out there, through our partners in the social community and anything else that we can obviously, you know, come up with. But I do appreciate you, and I'll have some more questions as we go through the agenda.
Sure. You know, we're working really, really hard, the men and women are, being, you know, nearly 150 officer corporal short. We still, end of the year, my investigators, with our clearance rate is gonna be, we got some cases that are at the DA's office for review, but our clearance rate is still gonna be in the mid to high 50s for our homicides, well above the national average.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chair.
So,
Councilwoman Taylor?
Chief, my question is for you and the mayor. So you had this council that unanimously approved a public safety emergency. and the surviving family members of the deceased feel that there is a crisis. And so if their assertion is wrong, then please provide us clarification on what do we do next.
I don't understand your question, what,
If we're saying that there is not, you have 78 homicides.
right,
That number has clearly nearly doubled from last year,
yes,
which says to me that this is an issue. We have, you say, about 30-something of those solved,
that's correct.
okay? So we have 30 of those solved, and they appear to be somewhat targeted, which means that if it's clique, gang, or something else, then there is some similarity in that particular caveat. My question then becomes, is what do we do in order to calm our public who feels that we are in a crisis when it is said that we are not? Because 40-something to almost 80 is a significant increase. There is something that we're missing, if you say, as Councilman Butcher said, in the prosecutorial stage, that we're not getting to the DA. What is that particular success rate? What do we do now from
Sure.
this point?
Sure.
If
sure.
you say no public safety emergency, when is the emergency then? Because there is a certain demographic of individuals within this city that says it's an emergency, because who's getting killed are Black and brown people.
And you're exactly correct. I'm glad you led into that. The majority of the homicides of that 78 are definitely as it is, as you understand it, without a doubt.
Right.
It is. And the communities that they're happening is exactly as it is that you say. And we definitely are doing and will do what we can to increase our efforts in the areas that are more susceptible to crime. When I spoke about one of the strategies that Chief White brought back with him from the conference, definitely addresses that. And I won't speak too much about it because that's giving away my secret.
Correct.
It definitely speaks to that. But we do recognize each day when I look at the map of where things are occurring, and I know this city very well, and it's quite obvious to me where the focus of that is occurring. And we're making plans to do what we can to address it in the coming year better than we did in 2023.
It's a crisis for me as well because children are dying.
Yeah.
That's our most vulnerable population
Yeah.
of where we're seeing this, and I'm sure that you can give the age frame and the age group of
Sure.
what we're looking at, two mass shootings that we had and what we see. And I think I know that's the reason why this council will supply you with everything that you need in order for you all to do what needs to be done. The concern for me is that when we're talking about these task force, and then we say violent task force and other initiatives that we have, is there has to be something that we're missing in there. And we as a council want to know what we can do, because it pains us to hear people say that they don't feel safe driving after dark in Shreveport.
Sure.
Or I'm not going to do my shopping here, or I want my children to get out of here. That doesn't resonate well with me.
Sure.
And I'm, as Councilman Butcher, is like, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, we're trying, we provide the assets, but what is it that we're missing? And if you have to speak to this committee, separately, we understand that, to get what needs to, so we can supply whatever it is that you need. But if there are further discussions that we need to have when it comes to the DA, when it comes to the judges, then we need to have those conversations
Sure.
as well.
Sure. Just prior to this meeting, I was in a criminal justice meeting that encompasses all of us, even the DA's office and the judge's district court, the judicial system. we've been meeting for about the past year, trying to find what it is that each other can do to help each other do their jobs better. And we're focusing in on some key areas that is not only going to help SPD, but it's going to help the sheriff's department, it's going to help the DA's office, it's going to help the courts, the juvenile courts, in terms of technology, sharing information, being able to get that information into the system a lot larger. And it's going to cause some alerts to occur that John Doe is in or out, but John Doe is a person of interest. So we're definitely working in that area with our technology. Even the digital technology is coming on board with a newer video system that is going to speed up the process. I know you've heard the DA or some of the people say, well, the case was delayed because we didn't get the video. Well, that's fixing to be solved, where immediate downloads are going to occur. Our technology now is a little bit behind. A police car have to come to the police station. It's got to sit for an hour while the magic occurs. And if you have to crank up and go to another call, then when you come back, it had to start all over again. But we're working toward technology with a new vendor that there'll be hot spots around town. The car gonna always be unloading. So we'll be able to get the information quicker, get it in the system and get it to DA's office. So we all are working together.
Your task force you're talking about, is that the same task force that Mayor Perkins put together that I sat on? There were 2 council members on it, I think.
Myself.
Yeah, we met, remember last year when we were meeting?
I remember.
Is it the same thing, or is it a
This is
different
one
thing?
that's being hosted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Was that the one Tim Magner was?
That is correct.
Well, what, we were involved in that, and then
We didn't hear anything.
yeah, we
else.
didn't hear anything else on it.
Right.
It's the feds, it's DOJ from Washington that comes in every month and sort of spearheads the meeting and talks us through it.
I just remember that we had, Tim was in it, and Clay Walker, and a bunch of other people. I think there was somebody from the commission there, and then
Correct.
there were 2 of us.
We had it.
Clay Walker is there representing the commission.
I
It's
guess
been an
we just-
awesome experience to, have those kind of conversations.
I guess
And
we're
it-
not on it anymore.
Yeah.
He got kicked out.
Yeah.
It's been a
We
great-
need to get invited back on the
Got
Christmas
kicked off
card
the-
list.
It's been a great experience in that meeting, talking, and it made me realize some things that SPD can do better and quicker to help the DA's office. The DA's office and figure out what they can do a little bit better to help the court system. It's really, really productive. It really is.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
one, Councilman Butcher was talking, and Councilwoman Taylor was talking about our customers have gone over the river to our neighbors. So my question would be, how do we get our customers back? 2 is, I've discovered that our neighbor across the bridge, they don't tolerate. And I think that's the difference in us and them, is that they don't tolerate. It's like, if you ask common people, say, man, why you don't go to Buck? Because they don't tolerate. So I know that you might possibly would have some grief behind it. How do, and we don't have to go out of town to find that out. How do we develop a mentality as to what they have to say we're not going to tolerate? Because it's like me. When I go to Bossier, I drive as fast as I can to get there and as fast as I can to get out.
Yes.
And I'm cool. If I see a Bossier police officer, I'm like, oh, Jesus, I hope everything is straight, because I don't want no trouble over here, because I know they don't tolerate. So how do we develop a mentality like that to say, okay, get your house in order, we're not going to tolerate?
That's a very good question. Would you want your community afraid of the police?
I am already. I'm just playing.
We thrive for a friendlier.
But what does it get? What do we profit from? It's like, for an instance, everybody want to go to Bossier because they feel safe. So therefore, I mean, now they friendly. I mean, I've had Bossier stop me, and of course they said, okay, you know, you cool, whatever. They friendly, but they don't tolerate.
I had one
So
stop me, and after he wrote me a little note, he let me go last year.
right, so they friendly, but they don't tolerate. So how do we develop a friendly, not tolerate mentality?
Intolerable, yeah.
That's what we need. We need, yeah, be friendly, understand that you are the police, understand that if you cross the line, you going to jail.
Sure, sure.
So we don't have to go to Washington DC to find it out. We just go right over the bridge. Right now, if I leave this meeting, going to Bossier, whether I go 31, 32, whatever it is, or whether I go 20, I'm gonna watch my speedometer. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure I turn my signal on so that I can do everything right, because I already know they don't tolerate.
Sure, sure.
So how do we develop that type of mentality?
Let me work on that a little bit, 'cause, let me work on that.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Well, I
some of
mean,
what-
can't we just go over there and ask them?
Yes, I can do that.
Does a lot of it go, though, to the prosecution part of it, though?
It could be an entire system. I'm pretty sure Bossier has earned a reputation, not recently, but something that is a carryover from generations and generations and generations of Bossier City, if that kind of makes sense.
So can we start something now?
I will ask. I will
I
ask.
think public
Let-
safety has to be the priority.
Ma'am?
Public safety has to be the priority. And I
Sure.
think that public safety, that has to be a message that resonates throughout this city.
Sure.
That keeping our residents safe is our main priority. Because when crime affects us in one neighborhood, that transfers over to regardless of what part of the city that you live in.
Absolutely.
And if we don't believe or we don't make public safety the priority, then that becomes the problem. And when I say public safety, I mean holistically. That means police department, DA's office, and all of those particular organizations working together collectively. It starts from leadership on and identifying if a group is affected and in record numbers, that's a crisis. And we cannot say that it's not. It is a crisis in our city. We have young black men and women who are dying.
Yes.
That's a crisis. And as long as we say that it's not, then it's business as usual.
Okay, aggressive policing has a profound effect. But as I said last time, it does not come free, it does not come with a price. Every day ain't gonna be a good day.
But
When
I'm
we
not
have a
even-
bad day, when things don't go well,
But I'm not even speaking to just aggressive, I'm not speaking to that, because aggressive policing has its own message. What I'm speaking to is the incarceration rate of individuals. When you all arrest, and if there is something that we are lacking when it gets to the DA office, we need to fix that. We need to fix that so we can prosecute the individuals that are causing harm within our city. Because if we have 78 homicides, 30 of them are solved, and individuals that do supply information, and not to give out so much information, then there's something there. What are we lacking in that area that we want to give you so our officers won't be overworked, stressed, or any of those cases? I know it weighs heavily on your heart when you see that. And when you hear this number, and then you gotta come listen to us ask these questions, of you. I don't expect for it to be a magic bullet, but I think it's multi-layered in the approach that we have to have when we do this.
sure. Well, we're working, trying to get and it's been on the table for the past couple of years, and I think it's gonna be such a big benefit to us. Helping people to be able to communicate with SPD, with their valuable information, and not fear of their anonymity being jeopardized. And our text message app that we've got coming is going to enable people to do that. Just text it straight to the computer. I don't know who you are, but give me the tip, give me the lead, get me started in the right direction. That's coming. I think I'm really hopeful that that's gonna help some.
Councilwoman Bowman, I think.
Good evening, Chief. One of the questions I keep getting is, and what we all get is, the perception is Shreveport is not safe. I mean, I don't like to sugarcoat things. That's the perception we get when they call us. Shreveport is not safe. So we need a campaign, something to turn this around, just in a positive way. I mean, even when people came from out of town, they watched the news. They didn't feel safe being here for the holidays.
Sure.
I mean, another question I had, do we have somebody watching social media? I think a lot of stuff starts from social media. You got a lot of bullying on there. Once it leaves there, it hits the streets. We need to start working with the nonprofits because they hear what's going on. They're willing to work with us, but we need to talk to them. I know when I first got on the council, I was very excited, was willing to work with crime, want to see what could we do. Some suggestions I had, just technology I haven't seen in one whole year. I mean, in 1 year, if you can see a little change, you feel a little better about your job. And people are asking me, because when I go out of town, every time I visit another city, I try to take something to bring back home.
Sure.
And technology is where it is now.
Sure.
So I will ask the mayor, I have talked to him in March, I talked to him in May about different technology things. When we got the map on the shots fired, just the map that we got that was all red all over the city is a problem. I mean, I don't know if the other council members got the map, but it shows just the shots that was fired in our city, and the whole entire map was red. You could be at your home no matter where you live and hear shots fired. I mean, it's New Year's Eve, horrible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that we need a campaign to show that we're not playing, because like Chairman Green said, you go to Bossier does not tolerate any type of pettiness at all. And I think that they feel like you can do whatever you want in Shreveport, nothing is going to happen. They're gonna get away with it. It's not you, it's the people, but then it's our job to enforce, put in legislation, do something to help.
Sure. I love the campaign, and you know, we all ought to ask ourselves the question sometime, all of you. Do you spend as much time promoting our great city as you do focusing on the bad things that occur? I guarantee you, if you make steps across the river to Bossier City and begin to axe around, I guarantee you're going to hear about things that are occurring over there that's not so pleasant. Probably almost as much as over here, maybe not to the degree with the homicides, but you're going to hear a lot of bad things that are occurring over there, but you won't hear very much, even through the media, about how bad Bossier City is. But I guarantee you hear about it in Shreveport. We have embraced technology unbelievably. We're light years ahead of many of our peers. Thanks to all of you, the council and the administration, for your support. Our camera system, our RTC, and I won't speak a whole lot about it, but it is solving crimes. With 1,300 cameras up around our city, it is solving crimes. And I can't tell you which crimes it's solving because I'm giving away my secrets. Correct. And I can't tell you what the 1,300 cameras are, but smile as you ride down the street. The LPRs that we got around town, the license plate readers, are catching stolen vehicles. They are catching suspects. We are in the process, and thank all of you so very much. Our camera trailers will be on the way real soon. But in the meantime, talking with the owner of the business just today, he has one that he is going to lend us free of charge, that we are putting our camera equipment up on, and license plate readers that are going to go up on Clyde Fant Parkway where we get suspected drag racing, on Airport Drive, and other places downtown. Our equipment gonna be on there. He gonna lend us that free of charge until ours arrive.
Add 3132 to that as well,
Okay? Okay, I will.
because I get complaints all the time from Emberwood about
So
that.
we're embracing technology. We have 13 drones now, the police department do, that is used at various times for various reasons around our town. So great things are beginning to happen. Progress is moving in the way of our police substations. The bids have come in for the demolition of North Market, and the company will be selected real soon to start on that. The bids have come in for the renovation on the Interstate Drive location, so I don't know exactly how that's gonna work out right now, but some movement is going on around our city. I think 2024 is gonna be a much better year for us than some of the challenges that we faced in 2023.
Chairman Green, you have something you want to?
Yeah, two things, Chief. One is that when I used to travel going to Houston, when I would see a sign that says, I believe the little city was called Diboll,
Diboll.
you had a mentality that when you come into Diboll, slow down.
Yes.
If you going 1 mile over the speed limit, you was gonna
That's
get a
right.
ticket.
That's right.
Because that mentality was there. And I think that we need to shift to a mentality that you're welcome here, but we're not gonna tolerate here.
Sure.
And then my last question, Mr. Mayor, about the sign over on Monkhouse for the substation, how are we coming on that?
I have authorized the chief to get it up as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's on the
Chief,
way.
how soon is your soon as possible?
Soon as possible, soon as they can figure out what goes on it. I'd love to have you and the mayor and the rest of the council to come out and take a picture with us so people can see the progress that's being made by this administration. So very, very
I
soon.
think
we
it
can
ought to
get
be
this.
one close to the expressway, and then one there by the street that is gonna turn on. And I'm not whatever policing you can put on there to get attention that you all are coming is fine with me.
Well, my people are very excited about coming. We'll be moving the entire traffic bureau out there, which is about 30-some people immediately. And that's just the beginning of it. And the unique thing about it, our traffic bureau has our intoxilizer machines. They focus on traffic matters. So the Louisiana State Police, the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Department, other small agencies come to that location to utilize our technology. So it won't only just bring SPD officers there, it's gonna bring other officers.
And that
too.
should be up and running about when, you said?
I don't know, I can't give you a definite date, but we can get the sign up real soon, and we'll move from there.
Good, Chief. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Councilman Brooks? Do you have anything to add?
Things have been going pretty good downtown, but whoever controls downtown, we hadn't had no noise complaints recently. Thank goodness.
too cold.
Thank goodness for that.
Oh.
We've had some pretty good crowds downtown, but no noise complaints.
Before we move on, I'd like for you to get us something, if you don't mind. Per capita, I'd like to know the number of police officers per population in Bossier, as opposed to per capita, how many officers we have on duty.
Sure.
And not just I'd like to know an actual, like a year of how many officers were actually here, not just what your full staffing level is, but how many officers we actually had working every day of, let's say, last year or the last 6 months, and then what it is in Bossier, so we can really compare apples to Bossier.
Sure, I completely understand. Well, I can give you these figures that will help you out any. In January of this year, I was 127 short. December of this year, I'm 146 short. So the number got worse as the year progresses. In 2023, I had 21 people to retire, 19 people resign, and about 5 to leave for other reasons. We're gonna start a class, an academy in the next couple of weeks, I believe, isn't it, Chief White? This coming Friday? This coming Friday, we'll begin a class with 11. And of course, that'll be for SPD and some, I believe, for other agencies also.
I would just like to see, we're talking about how Bossier's aggressive. I'd like to see how many officers, in a 8-hour shift, 12-hour shift, I think they work 12s or 10s over there, how many they have on duty per capita in relation to their population as per capita to our population on what we have.
I'll get
And then
that for you.
that lets us know kind of where we are with Manning
Correct.
and what we need to do to get that number up. Because obviously, like you said, I think one of the neatest things we have going in Caddo Parish is the Caddo 911 screen. I think it's cool, and I don't want it to be taken down. But one of the neatest things Bossier has is they don't have the 911 screen
Correct.
for you to see all the calls that they're going on. You have to actually listen to a scanner. So there might be a perception with the media or which y'all hear on scanners, I'm
Right.
sure. But a lot of people may not be able to hear what's going on in Bossier. So I just kind of wanted to get those numbers.
Mr. Chairman, one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chief, I think it would be a benefit to us if we stop using the word "we're short," because to me, that says to a person who wants to commit crime that I can go on and do whatever I want to because they're short. I just think that we ought to tell them that we're gonna work with what we got, and then we'll work toward to what we want.
Okay.
And then I just think that that would go out more
Effectively.
impactful than giving them a reason why you're not going to jail is because we're short. No, you going to jail whether we short or
Because you
no
broke the
short.
law.
That's right.
You if you break the law, you going to jail.
Gotcha.
Well, to piggyback on that, like the chief and I talked last week about this, I think that it ought to be opened up to city marshals,
Correct.
Caddo deputies,
Correct.
SPD officers. If we have a magic number per capita of how many officers we need per citizen, and we're gonna make that number, whatever it is, if we have to pay overtime, and true, everybody else is short, but if there's a way for us to have incentive to, if we're down 10 officers on a night shift, then we have a list of Caddo deputies, because I know at Fire District 5, when I was a chief, if I had somebody call in, I had a list of Shreveport firemen that I'd call, and if I had 15 on there, I can guarantee you one of them wants to come and make $400 in a shift. So that's just something that, or I'd call other fire districts, say, hey, you got so-and-so to come man the truck for us. It wasn't about, well, they're not wearing the Shreveport police uniform, So I just would like for us to kind of move towards that and kind of go off of what the chairman said. Quit saying we're short and say, look, we're gonna take care of business regardless of where we are.
Gotcha.
And you don't have to tell them I'm bringing in Caddo or I'm bringing in the marshal's office or I'm bringing in state police or whatever. We just do it and they just show up.
Gotcha.
So anyway, okay. Nobody else has. Oh,
I just
Councilman.
want to wrap this up. In having this conversation reminds me of T-shirts that we had made when we cleaned up the bottoms. And basically, it was the cops logo on the front, and then on the back side it said, "Coming to a street near you." And I think Glenn knows pretty much. The bottom line with all that is that when we got together in the 1990s and 91s to combat the gang issue, is that we all came together. Everybody that was involved in law enforcement, from the guy that pounded the beat, to the district attorneys, to the federal judges, we all made a pact that we were going to fast track these thugs that committed the crime that wreaked havoc, in our community, and we were going to put them in jail. I don't give any officer permission to violate anybody's rights, but I want them to understand from me specifically, and I hope a majority of the council, that I expect them to enforce every law, and I want them to stop whomever they believe is going to or about to commit a crime. I want them to write tickets for everything that they can think of in the RS code, from unsafe lane change to tailgating to no mirrors to no license plate lights, whatever it is, to start shutting down these vehicles where these thugs are making their way from one end of the city to the other. And I really want our motto to be again, we're coming to a street near you, and we will not leave any street untouched by the officers of our police department, because I believe to this day that they are some of the finest, if not the finest, that we have to offer. And yes, Bossier has a reputation, but I can guarantee you that, as you alluded to, Bossier's reputation started long ago, and I'm not accusing anyone of violating anyone's rights long ago, but we understand how reputations continue. The days are long gone when we pick up people and take them to Greenwood, you know, or take them out of the city limits, or take them across this Texas Street Bridge to be somebody else's problem. You know, we don't do business like that anymore. But I do want our law enforcement officers to understand that we, as their legislators, want them to police, and want them to police respectfully, you know, and authentically. And we're going to do everything we can. We're going to continue to do everything we can to support that endeavor. So I appreciate your service, and I appreciate the law enforcement officers that get up day in, day out, and put on the badge, and realizing that it is small to hide behind, and that we're going to give them every tool possible to ensure that they come home safe. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. And also just to add to that, they have my support, and I think they have all of our support. You do your job, and I know sometimes, like what you said, it can get hairy, but if you do it right, don't violate somebody's rights, we're behind you 100%. And I'm always going to stick with them until all the evidence comes in, regardless of whatever, because I know that you've got my wife went through your academy, and I know what she went through for those 14 weeks or 15, I don't know. It seemed like the longest summer of my life, or spring of my life, because yeah, I know what y'all do and how y'all train, and I know that they're going to do the right thing.
It's you know, it's real easy to talk about it, but hard to imagine. And until you're actually in the uniform, you don't know hardly how it is. No one that violates the law, nobody that shoots anybody, kills anybody, stays at the scene or walks into police headquarters and say, I give up, I made a mistake. Nobody that runs a red light or speed pass by the police officer to stop and say, sir, I sped. And I say that to mean police officers have to engage people when they have probable cause to believe that they've committed an offense. And in many cases, people don't accept that very well, and things go sideways. Very few of you are going to be happy when you leave here today and you get stopped for speeding and you get your driver's license to go to right. No matter how nice it is to be, you're not going to feel real good about it, I don't guess. But thank you all of you for your support, and we continue to encourage our officers to use the best of discretion, but enforce the laws of the land, the ordinance of the city, and most important of all, be safe.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Moving on, and if you want to sit down, Chief, and let the Fire Chief get on the hot seat for a minute. I just kind of want to get some updates on the bond issue, where you are with your equipment purchases and things like that.
Sure. No, sir, I didn't. Interested in the hot seat. I'm the fire chief. I can handle the heat.
Yeah, I had to say that. And by the way, Chief, before you get started, I want to thank you for what y'all did. Y'all had a heck of a mess down there in Southern Trace. I was there, and it was a fire load like I hadn't seen since Fine Wood Furniture, and I don't even want to talk about that. But it was a massive fire, and y'all did a really good job. Everybody in my neighborhood has been so thankful for what y'all did and how quickly y'all got there, and it was a hard job. I'm just grateful that nobody got hurt. So thank you. Tell your guys that too.
Yes, sir. Will do. As far as all the, and I'm speaking fast, one of the projects that I know y'all are waiting on is Florida Lucas Station. We have a meeting at 3 o'clock with the poor Mr. Dark. I think City Attorney will be there also, but we have a meeting at 3 o'clock with them, so we'll know a lot more details. To our knowledge, everything came back clean. The results have been given to everybody that shared that information. The union has it. They've sent it to Washington. They're looking over that information as well, but as of right now, we're going to go ahead and plan to move forward, and of course, that meeting is in a little bit. As far as Station 14, and I was hoping Shelley, I think she's out sick, or Mr. Russell Delancey, as far as Station 14, talk to the builder. That contract has been sent back to the city. Not to slight anyone, I think that is in Councilman Green's district. We will do a dirt turn, but as soon as that first excavator or bulldozer, anything gets that, I told them to start busting concrete. Let's move. We'll wait on the pomp and circumstance later.
Is that going where the old Sheridan used to be?
Yes, I'm sorry, that is, I forgot to call the station numbers. Yes, that would be Broadway and Greenwood Road,
Yes.
the old Sheraton. So that project will be moving forward. We're also in negotiation for the property at Valley View, near our maintenance facility, to build the fire station number 15. We're hoping to have both of those projects hopefully completed in 2024. As far as the trucks, the first 2 trucks, those engine companies they'll be delivered around July, is what I was told this morning. I called for an update. The rest of those trucks, which would be 10 other trucks, will be delivered by the end of 2024. So all of those fire engine apparatuses will be here in 2024. The ladder trucks are still about a 3-year, that's a 3-year process. We're just, and then the rescue trucks that were purchased also will be a little bit further behind those, but all of them have been spec'd out. We finalized the plans on every last truck from that bond.
What about 14? Is it about to come back?
14 is, according to Timmy Lane, and Timmy Lane's text message, 14 is on the streets. He knew it before I did.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so Station 14's pump that was wrecked a couple of years ago.
The Bossier pump, the
has
Bossier
been,
truck.
yes.
Which is almost brand new
It's
now.
brand new, it's a brand new truck.
That's what I said.
It is a brand new truck, but it is in the, in that fire station, and we're very, very excited about getting Station 14 built, so
Yeah.
that they have a new fire truck and a new fire station.
That was probably the best $80,000 we've spent since I've been on council.
I agree, I agree.
So,
I agree.
and then the other Bossier truck was in Southern Trace, second in,
Yes,
pumped like a, so,
absolutely.
anyway. All right,
So can we get a status on the boats?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the boat, that contract was, or that PO was done. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we will have a boat. We're buying a 2022, brand new 2022, Sea Ray Big Daddy is the name of the boat. Call for the 3 quotes. Of course, moving that limit to 60,000 was a great help. That boat is $59,600. That includes the motor, the trailer, and everything else that goes along with it, along with the canopy, lights, and then they'll be doing all of the fabrication work right there at the boat shop in Shreveport. I would like to say a special thanks to Commissioner Mario Chavez, who put us onto that boat and that boat shop. And I called all around Louisiana to find another quote, and everybody said, you need to buy that boat. You need to buy that boat. I think some people put in higher quotes just because they wanted it to be sold to Shreveport from a Shreveport dealer.
awesome.
That's good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes,
Appreciate it. Chief Smith, do you have an update on the substations and the main police station?
And the Bearcat.
Oh, and the Bearcat.
And Bearcat?
Yes.
Bearcat has been spec'd out and Bearcat is in production.
Yay.
Also the
Command trailer.
the mobile command vehicle, all of them in production. I think both of gonna be my project managers for the police substation. Both of them have met at least 2 contractors up on North Market that have bidded on the demolition. And I got informed today that all the bids have closed. And so it's just a matter of SPAR or whomever now selecting who's gonna do the demolition. On the interstate one, and I think Mr. Dark may have a lot more information about it, but bids were,
You'll actually have a resolution on your agenda next Tuesday to re-advertise for the bids on the Foremost group, because the bids came in high, and they ended up, police, because they kind of changed their requirements a little bit on what they wanted, price went up a good bit, and so we're actually gonna have to advertise as opposed to doing it quotes like they were trying to do. So you'll see a resolution, but we'll turn that one right back around. And the demolition one, we got 13 bids. So, apparently did pretty well on that one. And the other one that I can tell you a little bit about before I have to go to Fire Station 20 is we're going to take bids on the security for out front yesterday, and the contractor said, can you put it off a week? We're having trouble getting quotes because it's holiday. So that's been put off till the 9th and we'll get you the results on that as soon as we get those.
And
Chief.
Prevost is the one, I believe, that got the bid to do the main police facility. And I'm quite sure any time now they're gonna start meeting with us and seeing what our spatial needs with and come up with some designs. And we are anxious, we're beginning to move some people out, which will decrease the footprint that we'll need and make that happen. As a matter of fact, we're contracting to move CSI out of our building to the State Crime Lab
Awesome idea.
on Linwood. We're moving in that direction. And some other police department groups that I won't talk much about. We're working on moving them out to other locations also. But things are moving slowly but surely.
Chief, what are we doing with the facility in Allendale?
Over at the apartment complex,
Yes.
I don't know. I know it comes up from time to time. That was set up as a police hub, I believe.
Yes.
And the officers that ride that beat all had the code to get in there, to get the computers and to do their work. And I know it wasn't long after that, their work is done from the computer inside the car. I know I hear every once in a while a supervisor and officer will stop by there, but I don't think it's regularly every day used or visited.
Is that at Canaan
Is it
Village?
a kiosk or something?
Yes, it's
Like it
a
was.
hub where money from the Department of Justice was set up when there was a spike in crime in the Allendale community. So you set up kind of just like a,
Neighborhood assistance kind of thing?
you know,
or
you
some kind of-
have that hub set up there, but it's not really manned at all.
No, it's not manned permanently. I know people stop by there every once in a while. I hear somebody on the radio
You
get
think our-
down there, but not too
You
often.
think the CLOs in that area might be able to start using it a little bit, maybe as a central location?
I'll see, they constantly moving themselves, cause the CLO there did have, set up an office at, Mile by Booker T. What's the park name?
Lakeside.
Lakeside. We intentionally positioned all the CLOs offices at city parks or at city property to work out of, especially the parks.
I
But
think my concern is because we receive funding from, I believe, the Department of Justice.
correct.
For that particular initiative, and then we're not using it, how does that help us if we want to apply for additional funding, if they funded us something and then we're not utilizing
yeah,
the facility?
I don't know. I agree. I can't answer your question. I know someone had to statistically keep up with something to report back to DOJ, and I would have thought it would have been my statistician, but Ms. Capers, I'll check with her to see what stats have been kept in reporting to DOJ about that facility.
And to dovetail off of that comment, so our neighborhood assistance teams, are they in effect, or do we don't have a lot of NAT officers? And are the CLOs being embedded in SPAR's facilities kind of take the place of the NATs, or is the NAT program still plausible?
Plausible.
I mean, if that's the case, that may be something that, I don't know where we are in the NAT program. I just don't know how many NATs we have, and I think that was a great concept back in the day where
It just lost Sandy.
we had 4 NAT officers for every 4 areas, and it seemed to work pretty well for,
There's funding that's position description for 4 NAT officers, 1 for each 4 areas. We have 1.
right.
That's all we have, 1.
So we have 3 open positions for NAT,
That is correct.
and we have locations for 4
That is
NAT
correct.
offices.
Yes,
And so they remain unmanned, unmanned today.
that's correct.
And is it because of the NAT officers don't get paid a lot? What's the holdup on an advertising and hiring NAT officers?
We have advertised several times, continuously.
Hmm.
It has not been successful. And finding the right person for the position. And that ought to be someone who lives in a community, who genuinely has the community at heart, outgoing, approachable personality, because that's what their interaction is gonna be all about.
Could you send us the requirements for the position
And the pay.
and the pay?
Absolutely.
Of course.
It's
Because
considered
if it's
that.
somebody that is in that particular, in those particular zones, pretty, it to be that liaison between the community and the police department.
Yes.
That's key.
Yes,
That's key to building those relationships with.
they gotta be
SCD
somebody
community.
that connect.
Right.
And, you know, it's fruitless to hire the wrong person if obvious to you that they can't connect with the community.
Well, maybe we can find some retired educators or even retired law enforcement, retired anyone that has
Right.
those type of skills,
Because
you know,
that's
that
key.
deal with the public, you know, and that could be a good, obviously, liaison between the police department and our city.
Absolutely.
Citizens, excuse me.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on, it looks like Mr. Dark left. I think he gave us kind of an update on that. Maybe we'll just ask him those questions at the next council meeting to kind of get an update on that. Technology for officers, Councilwoman Taylor.
I wanted to pretty much know about Axon,
Axon.
and where we were on that.
Mayor?
I can address that, Ms. Taylor. We have received a proposal from Axon that we can act on, subject to funding. It's about $2.7 million a year. They have agreed to hold that price while we look for the funds to do it, and we signed those, basically an agreement to agree. It basically holds the price but doesn't obligate us, and I signed those contracts last Thursday.
Is
And that is one of the technologies I spoke about today at the criminal justice meeting with other partners, that in the future, when technology comes about like that, it's going to enhance the process because it's going to speed up the process. That will be able to interface with Tyler Technology, so when the DA's office or the judge needs to see a video, we can give them access, dial in and look at it for yourself instead of having to wait for weeks for someone to find it, download it, record it to, a CD or flash drive, and go through the process of delivery.
Provided that if funding is allocated for this particular technology, how long will it take in order for officers to receive training in this area?
I think the meeting that Chief White and I had with them, what are they gonna do, 4 or 5 a week or?
Yeah, they said total implementation, that's everything, 6 months. Within 6 months.
Within 6
6
months?
Cameras in cars, body cameras in officers' hands, training, everything within 6 months.
So
That's-
that would allow us to connect with the other law enforcement entities in this area as well?
They send people here, their own people, to do the installs, to do the work.
Well, I think what she's talking about is, like Bossier has Axon now.
Right.
So if you're on Texas Street Bridge, you have somebody that have to pull their weapon, then all of their cameras come on it. At least that's what Axon told us when we met with them, that when you pull your gun out of your holster, everybody's camera that's an Axon that's around you, it senses that it's
That's
smart
right.
or something. And Cato right now has WatchGuard, I think, but I think they're gonna
They've been
bid.
bought out by Motorola, so it's
Yeah.
now Motorola.
But they're looking at going to Axon as well,
I think Axon is something that I would say, and listening to you all as well, is that you definitely want to have in this particular environment that we're in. Especially when it comes to body cams, and then y'all have to go and charge them, or they may not, or the battery charges in at the end of whatever, how many hours that they work on a shift. So I would be adamant in that point of finding that particular level of funding to get that done, because I just don't think you can put that level of price on public safety for you all's protection as well as the community.
Cato is going in this, they were present today at that meeting. Like I said, we talk about all
Right.
kinds of things, and they're going in the exact same direction that we are, with technology-wise, converting over to the federal or state mandated RMS system to the camera system.
Do you, Now, in this package, and I know they had talked about a lot, it's body cameras, it's new tasers,
Right,
in-car video.
that is correct.
And is that, we had also talked about interview room.
That is
video
correct.
there, so it'll have the interview room too.
That's
So
right.
if the DA wants to pull up the interview that the officer had with somebody,
That is
it's
correct.
streamline and go straight to them as opposed to y'all having to download it and send
That's
it to
right.
them.
Is that all part of the 2.7 million?
That is correct.
I don't think that that's a bad part.
Well, and if I remember correctly, they give new body cams in 2 years or 3 years or something.
Yeah, see, that's what's beginning to happen now. Everything has a shelf life. Body cameras, the officer doesn't
Talk about it.
have that one. At the end of the shift, he sets it on the docking station and somebody else comes and pick it up. So the shelf life is not as long as you would really think it is.
Do you
So
think
every
if
couple of
the,
years, technology change, it would be awesome to be able to upgrade to newer technology.
would the mayor mind or you mind maybe having a representative come and just do a small little demonstration of what we're going to be getting?
My recommendation would be let us look for the funding, and once we find the funding, then we certainly will do that.
How long will that be?
It's almost $3 million a year, so we're looking very hard.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Chief, also, what about the, the ones that you have now? After so many calls, the batteries go down. Would you all have a situation that you could have a different central locations that you can go and recharge these units?
Absolutely. When we decentralize, there'll be immediately 3 or 4 locations. Wherever an officer's working at, there'll be a place in his area. He won't have to travel back and forth
Okay.
from downtown. And, in this packet also is with them taking all the old stuff that we got.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Okay. What about the unified database? That's the next item on the agenda.
That was for the mental health and those with disabilities. Have we had any updates on that?
I have not, Lieutenant Bowman, has she mentioned anything to you about? We've not received any.
You'll find out and let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
You talked about the mental health.
Not the app.
Not the app, okay, thank you, then I can't answer your question.
Yes.
All right. Does anybody else have anything to add before we adjourn?
Yes, I have a
Mr.
couple of
Telfair?
things. Update on the indoor range? Or maybe I should have asked
Yes,
Mr. Dart.
what's it called? The order to start work went out last week, and the contractor to do the lead abatement can start immediately. And I think they're supposed to start within the next week or so. Within the next week, the lead abatement is supposed to begin.
Okay, and I had a couple of,
Once that's done, then it'd be healthy for the people to come in and do the demolition and the other stuff that takes place.
okay, I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna be very brief. I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. This is just to open the door for future dialogue. And it mainly has to do with downtown bars and what bars in the city. And I just want to get a kind of a grasp on where we are and what your opinion is, or what you believe could help us out to actually release officers to go patrol and to address crimes that are either in progress and or need to be reported, rather than, being held downtown for a possible, crowd control or anything like that. We've got the noise ordinance in place, and so my question is what else can we do to minimize criminal activity and maximize citizen safety? Since we will always be behind the 8 ball as far as hiring, our officers, which most law enforcement agencies are, would it be prudent, in your opinion, to help assist law enforcement to provide safety for those who patronize our city, specifically our city bars, and whether it be in downtown or out and about in the city? Would it be prudent for us to consider other measures to help you do that as a council?
Such as?
To look at other ways in which to help the officers either police downtown or to relieve those officers. to do other things, to look at other ways to maximize our efforts downtown into other areas that have city bars.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm open to any suggestion anyone has.
Okay, so, and would you agree that in the downtown area specifically, because we've kind of gone through the 2023 kind of issues,
Sure.
that most calls for service, major issues such as the shootings, the fights, major wrecks, large crowd issues, happened around the 2 to 3 o'clock hour? I don't know, have the statistics, I'm just kind of asking about that.
I would say yes, from 11 o'clock to 11 to 4, if you want a 5-hour window,
Okay.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
All right, and so, since we'll never be able to kind of increase our numbers, and would you agree that officers are tremendously outnumbered?
Absolutely.
Okay, and should we have a violent issue downtown regarding crowd control or anything like that, is it law enforcement is severely kind of hampered by that, right? By our numbers?
Sure, until help arrive, until the cavalry arrive, you do the best you can with what you got.
Okay, and would it be safer or more efficient for officers to maintain control or disperse crowds when we have a realistic end to the operating hours of either the downtown bars or the bars throughout the city, which would kind of allow our officers to concentrate on other crime issues
Absolutely.
within the downtown area or other areas of the city?
Absolutely.
Basically relieving them of that responsibility.
Absolutely.
I have a question
Uh-huh,
for you.
uh-huh.
What's realistic?
Well, I think the realistic aspect of it is that since the chief has alluded or actually stated that a majority of our crime goes on between a 5-hour window
Starting at 11 p.m.
and ending at
correct?
around 2 or 3.
We're going to close bars at 11?
No, I'm just saying that officers probably need a realistic window of when bars are closing, and so they can go back to actual patrolling. And I think that may be a 2-hour, a 0200 at 2 o'clock in the morning window. I'm just looking for opportunities to engage in conversation about adjusting the operating times of our bars throughout the city. If we do it for this downtown, we have to do it, I think, for area bars as well. And that's just something that I'm just looking to kind of open that door. Obviously, I'm a free enterprise guy, and I don't know how much revenue, and that's, I've asked Councilman Brooks about how much revenue is really generated between 0200 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I know that Bossier shuts down at 2, and there's probably a reason that they do. You're talking about control, you're talking about, safety. I'm not saying it's for us, but I'm saying, and I'm not saying it's permanent. I'm just saying that I'm looking at ways to maximize our police protection throughout the city, minimize or actually help you with staffing, and not have to worry about between 02 and 06 in the morning. And I think that's what officers are looking for as well. I've talked to a lot of them. And it seems the thing that keeps surfacing is that modify the hours of operation with the downtown and hence the other bars throughout the city. So that's just something I'm looking at, opening up a dialogue of possibility. That's it. That's all.
Thank you.
Anybody else?